I'm Mike Sargent, and this is Arise on Screen.
What do you hope to achieve, Mark?
I want to be the best in the world.
Good.
The Schultz brothers were Olympic champions, and Jean DuPont was one of the richest men in the world. Their unlikely relationship and quest for gold would eventually end in murder. Steve Carell, Channing Tatum, and Mark Ruffalo star in Foxcatcher.
Ungrateful ape.
I'm a journalist. I'm covering the elections for Newsweek magazine.
Based on a true story, reporter Mazir Bahari is imprisoned by the Iranian government, falsely accused of being a spy, and tortured for nearly 3 months by a man he knows only by his smell. Gael Garcia Bernal stars in Jon Stewart's directorial debut, Rosewater.
You must take his hope. Your wife will never see you again.
When did you ever tell me that you didn't want this? When I was on that balcony?
Gugu Mbatha Raw stars as troubled music superstar Noni Jean. When she meets Kaz, played by Nate Parker, he changes her life. But can two people from different worlds find happiness? We sit down with writer-director Gina Prince Bythewood to talk about her latest romantic drama, Beyond the Lights. All this and more on Arise on Screen. Hello, I'm Mike Sargent, and welcome to Arise on Screen, your global home for films both on screen and behind the scenes. So let's get to it first with this week's box office winners. Interstellar tops the box office this week, followed by Big Hero 6, Fury, Gone Girl, and Nightcrawler rounds it out in the number 5 spot. And in movie news,
we need your help.
Dr. King, this thing's just gonna have to wait.
It cannot wait.
the first trailer for Selma is out. The film chronicles Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s historic struggle to guarantee voting rights for all people and culminates in an epic march from Selma to Montgomery, Alabama. In the end, President Johnson signed the Voting Rights Act of 1965. The stars showed up for a recent AFI preview screening in Los Angeles, California.
When you see Ferguson, basically Selma was Ferguson's 50 years ago. So.
Produced by and starring Oprah Winfrey and David Oyelowo as Dr. King, Selma hits theaters in January.
Right, Private. It is our duty to ensure that no harm comes to the cripple. Understood?
The world's first sci-fi adventure action film shot with a GoPro, Hardcore, is shot in the course of 1 day in Moscow, Russia, using the compact video camera rig that is mounted to capture action as it's happening, putting moviegoers in the battlefield of the protagonist. Hardcore's online Indiegogo campaign, which ends on December 6th, is halfway through its fundraising goals.
They wanted to join the Falcons so they can win the cup final.
And you want me to keep them off your base?
More than 40 years after disappearing, the film Joe Bullitt is back. Produced in 1971, the film was the first South African film featuring an all-African cast and starred Ken Gampu, the first South African actor to appear in Hollywood films. Banned by the then apartheid government after only 2 screenings, the film was eventually unbanned but never released again. Now, digitally restored, it's available for worldwide release.
Who's monitoring the child's development?
My wife doesn't really trust doctors.
And finally, big screen newcomer Adam Driver won the Copa Volpi Award for Best Actor along with his co-star Alba Rowaker at this summer's Venice Film Festival for their role in the psychological thriller Hungry Hearts. In the suspense drama, they play new parents fighting over the care of their newborn child. The film is directed by Saverio Costanzo and premiered at the Venice Film Festival.
What's happening?
She's obsessed with purity and cleanliness.
Mark, you have been living in your brother's shadow your entire life. It's your time now.
Coming up, Olympic wrestler Mark Schultz was tired of living in the shadow of his brother, and multimillionaire John DuPont was desperate to gain the respect of his mother. The two form a bond that eventually ends in tragedy.
Ungrateful ape.
Foxcatcher. Next, here on Arise on Screen.
you have any idea who I am? If some rich guy calls you on the phone, I wanted to speak with you about what you hope to achieve. What do you hope to achieve, Mark?
I want to be the best in the world.
Good.
Based on a true story, the new movie Foxcatcher, starring actor Steve Carell in an unrecognizable role as John DuPont, heir to the DuPont chemical fortune. The film tells the tragic story of Olympic wrestling champions the Schultz brothers, played by Channing Tatum and Mark Ruffalo. Welcome back to Arise on Screen. I'm joined today by international journalist and film critic Chiara Spagnoli-Gabbardi. Welcome back, Chiara.
Thank you so much.
And of course, our own Justine Browding. So, thank you both for being here. And first movie we're going to talk about now is Foxcatcher. And I thought that this movie was, and I saw it at Cannes, and I thought that this movie was good. It was disturbing, compelling. I thought Steve Carell did a good job. But at the end of the day, I did kind of wonder what the point of the film was. Now, Justine, I know that you thought that Steve Carell was great, and you think that we kind of forget what a great dramatic actor he is.
You know, I agree with you. There's some smaller projects that he's been in. Even if you look at Little Miss Sunshine, his role there as a suicidal man who's recovering from an attempted suicide, that really comparatively here with just this character who is so unbelievably frightening, when you compare it to Channing Tatum's performance, both really do a great job at carrying the drama. People, I think, forget that Channing Tatum, back in 2006 when he did A Guide to Recognizing Your Saints, people were comparing his acting to Marlon Brando's. And then with Magic Mike even, the focus was kind of taken off his acting. But if you watch that film, there really is a struggle there.
Was the focus taken off his acting?
Yes, it was. A lot of grinding, a lot of the performances, really, the performance took a back seat. But he really is a person who's fighting for something, and here we see that as well. There's a lot of anger underneath the surface that you're just waiting for it to boil over.
I thought it was a subtle performance, and I thought there was a physicality to it that I believed. But you, on the other hand, you didn't find Steve Carell never quite made you believe you weren't watching Steve Carell in makeup.
Yes, not at all. I agree on the excellent performance by Channing Tatum. He was very physical, very introspective. He managed to find this proper balance. Steve Carell I didn't find believable for not one moment. I thought he was overdoing it. He somehow looked a bit like a caricature. He didn't enthrall me, not particularly. And I thought Mark Ruffalo also in this minor role was the best one of all.
He's kind of the best
I thought
of the three.
Ruffalo was very good, I have to say. Well, I thought, I somewhere in between the two of you, I thought Carell was good. I thought it was brave for the director, Bennett Miller, to actually cast him. And I've liked some of his other films. I really like what he did Capote. So he's definitely done films where he's portraying or making a film about a real-life character. So, but I did somewhat feel it was a bit mannered, you know, and a little bit of a
If you look at the articles on the story when it came out, the true story, it really writes itself. The themes are there, even the title.
Even the title.
All of it really
Now, Chiara, would you recommend this film?
Perhaps to get to know the real story. That can be useful.
And you, Justine?
Yeah, I would. I think it's haunting and it really stays with you.
Okay. Well, our next film is Dumb and Dumber. It's been 20 years. And Harold and Lloyd are back, older, but no wiser. This time they're on the road searching for one of their long-lost children in hope of getting a new kidney. Jim Carrey and Jeff Daniels reprise their iconic roles in Dumb and Dumber 2.
You guys want to play He Who Smelt It? Huh?
What's that?
It's complicated, so pay attention. We put the windows up. First one who smells a fart gets a point. If you say who dealt it, double points.
But if you say you smelled a fart and nobody farted, like if we were just passing a slaughterhouse,
false fart,
you lose a point. And you can't smell your own farts either.
What are you guys kidding? No. I'm not gonna sit around sniffing your guys' farts like some kind of truffle pig. Forget it.
Okay, fine. Lloyd and I'll play one-on-one.
Yeah, head-to-head.
How can you play one-on-one? If you smell a fart and you didn't do it, isn't it obvious the other guy did?
I thought you said you never played before.
Now, you got to understand, for me, I went into this with very low expectations because I didn't like the first movie. I thought it was a waste of time and puerile. So I did not expect this to not only be any good, but I expected to hate it. And I actually thought it was better than the first movie, but that's not my saying much.
No, that was the opposite.
you thought the first movie, because you saw it as a kid, you thought it was
better.
better.
Yes, as a child, I liked it much more. This was awful. The salacious gags, the fart jokes, they were completely tasteless.
Now, Justine, you said that this is the worst movie of all time. That's a pretty strong quote.
I mean, purely on the fact that they sexualize an elderly woman, both in the trailers and in the film. If you see the trailer, you already know going into this that it is horrendous.
I'll be honest with you, I was surprised that this is considered classic. I spoke to a number of critics, including Matt, and they were like, "Oh, it's a classic. I loved it as a kid."
Yeah,
so maybe
childish humor.
if I were younger,
like
if I saw it
10,
at 5 or 10, maybe. But to me, this is, I think it's better than the first one, but that's really not saying much. So we're going to move on to our next film,
yes, let's
which
do it.
I think that you have no problem doing. So we'll be right back here on Arise on Screen.
No one cares what I have to say.
I'm listening.
When we return, can Noni Jean, a desperately unhappy music superstar, find love and happiness with Kaz, a policeman who saves her life? Starring Gugu Mbatha Raw and Nate Parker. Beyond the Lights is the latest love story from writer-director Gina Prince Bythewood. We sit down with her next here on Arise on Screen.